When it comes to a workout program, there's some core elements that you really want to make sure are there. And what I want to explain to you today are the main components that you should see in your workouts as you're completing them. So the first one generally will be mobility oriented. So that may be foam rolling. It could be some mobility drills for, whether it's thoracic spine openers or something along those lines, something more active. Sometimes it may be a combination of some soft tissue work, some joint mobilizations trying to really loosen up the joint, and then also some actual actively using of that range of motion. And it may even include progressing to the point where you're actually loading those end ranges that you've tried to gain. So that's generally going to be the first part of preparing for your workout. You want to make sure you can move through the positions that you're going to be training later when we get down to the speed, power, strength work. The second part will then be activation. After you've increased the mobility of your joints and you're able to move through the ranges that you need, then we want to make sure that the muscles that are supposed to be controlling those motions are actually ready to go, that those patterns from the brain down through the muscles, those neuron patterns really are firing as efficiently as possible. So that may be, generally it's nothing that's very terribly loaded. It could be something like a single leg bridge just to get the glute firing. You may do that on a day where you're going to do some lower body work. It could be something like shoulder blade work or activation of the shoulder girdle if you're doing some upper body work. Generally that's going to be, again, targeted at activating whatever you're going to be working on later in the workout. You can also work both of these together through things such as like a primal flow movement or other just kind of fundamental movement patterns, crawling, skipping, just trying to kind of get everything working as efficiently as we can from a neurological standpoint as well as a soft tissue and musculoskeletal standpoint. After you've warmed up, you're ready to go. Then you're going to get into your speed and power work. The reason why we'd want to do speed and power work, generally speaking, before strength is going to be because it uses the energy system that exhausts first. So if you go and you do your conditioning, your strength, and you save your speed and power work for the end, you're not going to be moving as fast or with as much force as you possibly could if you did it earlier. And if your ultimate goal is to create as much speed and power as possible, we want to do that when you're primed to move as fast as possible. So that way we practice going that fast. If we're training to run a 6-minute mile, but we only ever we're so tired and we only ever run a 12-minute mile, the chances of your brain and your body being used to moving that faster are not going to be quite as high. After we've done our speed and power work, that may be stuff like medicine ball throws, dumbbell Olympics, depending on how high level of an athlete you are, maybe barbell, snatch, cleans, those sorts of things. Then we'll get generally to the strength component. Strength is working on how much force you can generate. Strength and speed together equal power. So we're kind of breaking down from a skill standpoint, how much force can you generate. That generally will be focused on a general movement pattern. So whether it be squatting or a knee dominant movement, hinging like a deadlift, or pushing and pulling like a bench press or a pull-up. Those are just general examples of those patterns. That's generally where we're going to work in through there, depending on the time of year or the time of year it is or the time in your program that it is. Those rep schemes will change. So what that means is when you're just starting out, you're more trying to create a motor learning environment where you're going to do more general repetitions. Weight is not really your goal. This is particularly applicable for people who are new to the gym, new to working out, and also juniors, before puberty, who are really just trying to build strong foundations. And then we'll get up into more of hypertrophy building, which we're trying to build muscle mass. And then we can even get down into max strength, which will be less repetitions, more weight, generally speaking. And then even true power numbers where you're only doing, 1 to 3 repetitions, really trying to go truly max strength and move weight as fast as you can if you're doing more power work. So as with power, the more progressive power generally is going to be less reps because you're trying to be as explosive as possible. When you're trying to train truly max strength, you're going to do less reps with much more weight, trying to really maximize the amount of force that you're creating to create those neural changes that you're looking for. After you've done that, then generally you can get into some conditioning or metabolic work if you're trying to do some weight loss or body composition training. That will be towards the end, whether it's in a HIIT circuit or sometimes maybe on an off day you'll do some low-level long conditioning, 30, 45 minutes or so as well too there. And then I put core at the bottom. The reason I put that there is depending on what you're training, if you're going for a big max strength and power day, you don't want to fatigue your core out way up in the beginning of the workout. So you may save that for the end. You may not. You may consider your squatting, deadlifting, your heavier lifting. That you may consider that your core work for that day. So core work can be a bit flexible in terms of what your goals are from a training perspective. If we're talking about a rotational sport like golf, for example, anti-rotational work, trying to fight rotation through weight shift, is really the functional way that we use core musculature. And the reason that we'll use core musculature, the reason what we're trying to train is what's called spinal stiffness. So your ability to maintain the spine in a singular position, not dynamically moving, as your legs and arms are creating force off of that. So hopefully this gives you an idea from a workout standpoint what the different elements are to look for, where they belong in relation to each other, and kind of gives you a bit of a perspective from a programming standpoint when you're looking at your workouts, why we're doing each of those elements and when we're doing them.